everyone, and welcome to Rob's Rogues in the Batman universe. Today we're taking a look at Batman, the animated series figure collection from DC Collectibles. Of course, this is Robin the Boy Wonder. This is figure number 6 in the series. Initially, I was going to pick this up the day of release. I called a comic book shop that's not too far away from me, and they said they didn't get any in because in their location, the animated series figures weren't selling that well. So I thought, well, I guess I'm going to have to go to Amazon or get it, through some place online. As I was getting ready to order some drum equipment, I thought, well, I'll just order from Amazon and do it all in one shot. And then I decided to check my comic book shop for another figure that I'm going to review in a little bit, and this wave was on the shelf there. So I had grabbed Robin and went to go to the checkout, and I said, I thought you guys said these weren't selling really well. He's like, the funny thing was, after you had called, he's like, we started getting a lot of calls for this particular wave, because Man-Bat's in the wave, and the Joker. So he's like, apparently there's still some interest in these figures, and of course there is. It's the animated series. What's not to love? The package is pretty much the same for the whole entire series. I think we've kind of talked about it before a little bit, that the back of it, it's the inverse of this here, but it would have been kind of nice for them to include the wave pictures rather than the little poster, but it's still cool nonetheless. So let's get this guy out of package. All right, we've got Robin out of package, and wow, he looks great. It's just like I hoped he would look when the figure was announced. And gone are the, lack of a better word, the nipple holes, or the holes where, I'll bring Batman up here in a little bit, but where the peg is for the joint to move, which I thought was kind of weird when they were making the figure. It really kind of seemed like there could have and should have been a better way to hide that. And obviously DC Collectibles got that rectified. And there's that part of me that goes, well, why don't you just re-release the Batman again, and this time make him without the nipple leg holes? But Robin doesn't suffer for that. Right now, I only have 2 figures from the series, and this one is clearly my favorite. I've only had him out of package just for a little bit. And wow, he's done very, very well. The sculpting and paint work is excellent. It looks like he just leapt right off of the TV screen, right out of the Batman animated series cartoon show. Okay, let's take a look at the articulation on this guy. Really cool. The head is on a nice ball joint. Again, the head is removable, so the head, I think, does have a little bit more mobility just because of that, with the head coming off because of the cape, which we'll get into just a little bit. So you can get him in some nice poses, a lot of head tilts. He can look down pretty well. The color of the cape does get in the way just a little bit, but he can look up extremely well, kind of rotate it back just a little bit. So can maybe look at the sky and to see Man-Bat coming down upon him, which Man-Bat was in this wave. The arms go all the way around, full 360. Doesn't get in the way of the cape, depending on which cape you have. This arm is a little bit more restricted because of the single shoulder sweeping part of the cape, but the shoulder on the other cape is more like this. The arms on mine are a little stiff here, so it goes out about that far, not quite 90 degrees, but still good enough to be able to get some really good articulation out of it. I think he turns, nope, this is another one of those that it turns at the elbow and bends at the elbow. So I thought there was an upper thigh cut, but there's not there. He does have a glove rotation, turns at the wrist, hinges at the wrist, which these hinges are a little stiff and they kind of get in the way of the end of the glove here. This one seems to work just a little bit more, and maybe it's because I've had this fist off and on. You can see how it comes out right there. So I think this one would work just depending on the fist that you have. He does turn at the waist, and I think the belt is a little too high. I know Olivia commented on the spot right here if it's red. I think they just could have painted this green and left kind of like where my nail is. I'm using Olivia's trick here. And just done it just like that rather than paint this little bit here. But I think the belt should have been just down here a little bit. It looks a little too 1966 Adam West ish a little bit, but it's not enough that I look at it and go, oh my gosh, that's horrible. It's still a great looking figure. The legs go forward again. It's one of those like, gee, if they only had a car, guess what? They have a car. So I can't wait for the Batmobile to get these guys in it. He's got the nice T-jointed legs there, so I can get some pretty good split action out of Robin. Has a single bend at the knee and nothing at the boot other than the hinge at the foot. And I want to say, yep, and there's a rocker too. So hopefully I had that. And we have a really good, actually a great representation of the Dick Grayson Robin character. For those people that may be kind of wondering, I'm sure everybody knows that the animated series decided to use the Tim Drake Robin costume because they thought the pixie boots and little green short shorts really kind of wouldn't translate very well into an animated TV series. And they wanted to make this Robin more grown up, that he was kind of on the cusp of leaving the Batcave and going out on his own. And initially there wasn't going to be a Robin in the animated series. At first they thought, well, we kind of want to tell just more Batman stories. And as the show got more popular, they started realizing that people were wanting to see Robin, so they went ahead and created the Dick Grayson character, which I always loved. Of course, being a big Robin fan, I always liked the episodes where Robin was in it. And of course, eventually we did get Tim Drake into the animated universe. But no real major paint flaws or even minor paint flaws that I can tell in my figure. Everything seems to be right on par. The face has a great sculpt, has that great animated smile that Dick Grayson's character always had, and the hair I think is really cool. I do have the Kenner animated series figure that I'll do a comparison with and kind of look at the two side by side. So he comes with a lot of accessories, much like Batman did. And unlike my Batman, he does stand perfectly straight. I do have my Batman able to stand a little bit straighter than he did when I first initially reviewed him. Comes with a lot of sets of hands. He has a hand that you can put the grapple in over here. You can see how that's kind of sculpted in there. He has two open hands, so I'll get to that in just a second. And then he has closed fists that he came with, and I gave one of the open hands, I put that on. They pop off and on pretty easy. I've heard some people say that they've been breaking these, but just a little gentle, and I do more of a twisting rotation like that and pull it right out rather than just straight pull. They have these little grooves on them. I don't know if the camera can pick that up or not. These little grooves in there where it kind of works more like a screw or a corkscrew. You kind of pull that out. So that's how I took mine off. He does come with an extra grapple, much like Batman did. And you could fit this into Batman's grapple gun into his clothes, to an open hand, but the open hand that they gave Robin, it doesn't quite work. I mean, you can kind of get it in there and it'll hold in, but as you can tell, I just dropped it, so that is fantastic. The power of editing. So as I was saying, after I dropped this thing, so you can get it in that hand, but it'd be kind of cool just to have like a table or something like that, to have like a display of all of the gadgets that I'm sure a lot of these figures are going to have. And the other accessory is the bolo that Robin comes with. Now, each of these figures in the line come with accessories that are relevant to the character from a particular episode. And as you saw from the title card at the beginning of this episode, this figure is based on, basically because of the accessory he has, is Robin's Reckoning. It's the story, the origin story of the Dick Grayson character in the Batman animated series. And it was a highly popular episode. I think arguably episode 1 is a little bit better than the second part of it, but they're both still excellent. Can you really have a bad episode of Batman the Animated Series? And he holds onto this rather well. So he would whip this around like a whip and then throw it, and these balls would wrap around the assailant and then tie them up. It's been really hard to try and find an image from it. I'll try and put one up here so you can kind of tell from the scene that this was actually used in. So it does slide in rather easy. So depending on how much you wanted to get that in there, you could. I don't know entirely if I'm going to pose him with the bolo. Probably what I did for Batman, I'll do the hand here. Let's see if I can get in a little bit closer. So if I break it on camera, we catch it, but I don't think I'm going to. Yep, came right off. Very easy. Some of the, you can see that the green flecks kind of came off there, so I don't know if that's down inside, but there's the hand. So much like I did for Batman, I'm going to pose him with the grapnel, and so that's that. Now, there was one more accessory, much like Batman. I kept saying one more. We'll take the head off here. That just comes right off, and the alternate cape like Batman came with. And I like this one, that it's draped over one shoulder, that they would kind of have Robin drawn like this in the animated series. So if you want to pose him with, grapnel or bolo, and you could still have that draped over look. Unlike Batman's, Robin's isn't draped on both sides. So I think that's kind of cool that you can pose him that way. And this is the cape that I'm going to leave him in. Much like Olivia said, that this is just such a cool looking cape, and it gives a lot more mobility than Batman's, but I still have my Batman in the double draped over the shoulder cape. Such a cool figure. Now the other accessory, I keep forgetting when there's so many accessories here. Every time I shut the camera off, I'm like, oh, I forgot something else. The turnaround stands that you see here. This Robin, I think they will all benefit from having them, just so you don't have one topple over. As you can see here, he's standing pretty good. He doesn't wobble too much. Again, they do have this spindly little feet and legs, but that was the art style. So I still have my Batman on his stand, just more for stability, just from walking into a room and not wanting him to topple over. Now here's Batman's stand. As you can see, I didn't really remember after doing this for a while that they colored in the black part of Batman's cape and whatever was black on him. They didn't do that for Robin, but you can see the new adventures of Batman, or the new Batman Adventures there, and then you have the animated series base here. So this was like the character mock-up turnarounds that they used for the art style. Much like before, you have the clear peg that does have a grooved end in it, so it sits in the back. And then you have a little armature. Now some people don't use the armatures if you don't want to see the clear piece wrap around him. Being that's with the cape, you can kind of stick it up underneath, and he'll be able to be supported on his base, or you can kind of have it around. I think just for argument's sake, I think I will put the armature on again, just for a little extra added stability on where I have them. Not that I have to worry about these guys toppling over too much. But still, I would rather be safe than be sorry. You pay enough for these figures, you don't want them to go toppling off in or onto somebody else, but they look really cool with and without them if you choose to do so. Or maybe if you've got a wall, they can kind of lean. But again, a little extra stability never hurt anybody, so I thought this was really pretty cool. Now we'll get into some of the comparisons. All right, here is the 1992 Kenner Batman Animated Series Robin figure. And this is a reuse body of the 1991 Kenner Batman Returns Tim Drake body. So you can see the belt there, and then this is obviously comic accurate to the comic book series, and the Batman Returns line just decided, hey, we're going to throw Robin in the movie series, even though there wasn't a Robin in it. But you can see that they used, it's the same exact body. Kenner just decided, well, rather than recreate a Robin figure from scratch, we'll just use the existing body that we already currently have that we just did a year previous, and we'll just sculpt a new head. So this Tim Drake head is rather tiny. The capes on these I think were really cool. This Robin cape I think is about a size too big, or maybe 2 sizes too big. I like that they got the two-toned cloth for Robin, as again it's Tim Drake's costume, but I was always torn about, you know, putting it in. I want to be able to see the yellow, and it looks more like a black cape. So I mean, you could do, you know, that type of movement, which is always kind of cool, or I end up kind of folding it back like you saw earlier. You can get him in a really cool, again, it's more standard action figure articulation, but where you could have it, you know, swing. So I liked that it was a nice big flowing cape, and it, you know, looked really cool. But I think they could have done it just a little bit shorter so you could have seen more of the underside of the cape. And knowing that we're getting a Batmobile for the 6-inch figures, I know the rubber capes are nice, soft, and pliable, but setting them in the Batmobile, you'd either have to take the cape off, I'm wondering, or kind of squish the cape in there. Robin's may not be too bad, but with Batman's being a little bit bigger, I wonder how hard is it going to be to get him in the Batmobile with the cape, and then not have the cape creased or crinkled with it being rubber. But that'll be a discussion we can have in a few months once that Batmobile comes out. So I wanted you to see the two figures side by side, and you know, yes, I thought this was great, like, oh, he came right off of the comics, but you know, 20 some years later, here we are with the 6-inch figure, or the cartoon series rather, so the comics, but 20 some odd years later, here we are, and this actually does look like it came right off of the TV series. And he's got his little stripe on his ninja boots there, you can barely see it. This Robin does have that again. It was sporting the Tim Drake body right there. So there are those two figures. All right, and here is Batman side by side with Robin, both getting ready to grapple off into the sunset after beating, let's say, Man-Bat. So this has been a really cool figure to have in my collection. And again, for Robin's 75th anniversary, I couldn't think of a better figure to do a review on, and I'm glad that I was able to pick him up in the month of April. So today we've been taking a look at the Batman animated series, figure number 6, I believe, as I have the box out of hand. This is a Robin the Boy Wonder, Dick Grayson. And as always, this is Rob for Rob's Rogues, signing off saying we will see you guys next time.